Bruce Wolf and Shaun Thompson in for Dan and Amy, who are in Mexico. Our telephone number is 312-642-5600, 312-642-5600. Promise we're going to get to those calls post-haste. But first, we are pleased to be joined right now. Well, they lined up some luminaries for us.
I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite outlets.
Yeah. Roger Kimball is the editor of the New Criterion, and he is also a columnist for PJ Media. And we thank you for coming on the show this morning, Roger. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you guys.
So you've got a column out. The McCabe Report is just an appetizer, which and I love the tease there. I can't wait to get into the hors d'oeuvres right here. I read the column, and you mentioned Andy McCarthy, and we all love Andy McCarthy because he's the lawyer who knows everything. I mean, he was the former federal prosecutor who put away the blind shake, and he had a great column this weekend. I hate to introduce your column by talking about his column, but he did have one in which he says, hey, we're not keeping our eye on the ball here because we're talking about McCabe. He's lying all over the place. He even lies about his lies, but he says we've got to understand what he was lying about. And what he was lying about is that he was trying to protect himself because the Obama Justice Department officials wanted to kill the Clinton Foundation investigation because they wanted to become Clinton Justice Department officials. So we got to go back to all the Obama people who are corrupt.
Yes. No, it's, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive, as Walter Scott said. But then somebody added a little codicil to that poem that said, But when we practice for a while, how vastly we improve our style. So this is an extraordinary, complicated skein of deception. I think it began actually with John Brennan, the former director of the CIA, who first got the FBI to open its investigation. But then we have James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, who was the person who convinced James Comey to go and brief President-elect Trump and tell him about the Steele dossier, but only select details, only the details about the micturating Russian prostitutes, but he left out all the stuff about Michael Cohen and all the others. So it really is quite extraordinary. And one of the things that should really upset people, I think, is the spectacle of a double standard at play. Why is it that if you're just an ordinary Joe like you or me, and you mishandle classified information, you get prosecuted and put in jail? Whereas if you're Hillary Clinton or Andrew McCabe or James Comey, you can lie to the FBI, you can mishandle classified information. If you're James Comey, you can give it to your friend to give to the Wall Street Journal to start a special counsel investigation. I mean, it's breathtaking what is happening. I do think that we may finally be coming to the end of this charade, or at least as Winston Churchill once put it, if not the beginning of not the end of the beginning, but I forget exactly how it goes. But
just end it with five prepositions, Roger. Just end it with five prepositions.
something up with which we cannot put.
So, Roger, really, what you're describing, and I mean, I know you're being facetious, but you're really basically explaining there are two Americas, right? There are the people who never get charged, who can do anything they want, who are above reproach, and then there's the rest of us. But didn't Comey, in essence, I mean, what he admitted to is not just leaking, but he admitted to a felony, didn't he? I mean, why is there no outrage by Republican congressmen to really...
Well... I mean, there is some outrage, and I think Devin Nunes is doing a terrific job at ferreting out the truth and running these things down. He's been very patient and very effective. And again, I think we've we've had the hors d'oeuvre. Maybe we're well into the appetizer course, but we're not done yet. We got a long way to go before they
doesn't it
before
expose
they bring
to
the dessert.
Doesn't it expose to a certain extent that these bureaucracies, and that's what the FBI is showing itself to be, is that the upper echelon of these bureaucracies are nothing more than political sycophants with an agenda. You notice how they're all affiliated and attached to the Democrat Party, and if it's the FBI, you know full well it's all the other departments. So.
Well, it's even worse. It's even worse than you say, because of course, the first thing you will read when you when you cast your eyes over a report about the characters involved in this, and say the New York Times or it's reported on CNN, is James Comey is a Republican and this person is a Republican.
Yeah.
McCabe, I think, is a Republican. But that is actually the point. You see, because what we're talking about is an entrenched bureaucracy that involves not just Democrats, but Democrats and Republicans. It really is the administrative state, the deep state. The terrifying upshot of this whole process is that the FBI, at the highest levels anyway, believed that they had the authority to tell us who should be the president.
Right, and
that is an amazing fact.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they didn't believe that the people's choice was legitimate. Therefore, they were going to do everything in their power to prevent their choice from becoming president. And then after he was, amazingly enough, elected, to destroy him.
We're talking with Roger Kimball, editor of the New Criterion and columnist for PJ Media. Yeah, the chutzpah of and I think Churchill used that word often, chutzpah of James Comey, first of all, getting out in front when it was the prerogative of the Attorney General to tell us whether Hillary Clinton was going to be charged or not. But then he uses the polls to determine whether he is going to reopen the investigation. And it is all about protecting their own jobs. I mean, I'm not even sure Obama himself is culpable. He probably wanted to personally see Hillary go down. He probably doesn't even like her. But it's these bureaucrats deciding what to do in order. They're betting on the election. They probably do have animus towards Trump for political reasons, but basically they just want to protect themselves. And yeah, they're insulating themselves. It's just amazing.
Yes, it's an extraordinary moment in our history. I believe, actually, as I'm watching this whole process unfold, that this is the biggest political scandal in this nation's history, because it involves so many players at the top echelons of our government.
Roger,
There's people in the FBI, CIA, State Department.
Isn't it a real refusal to expose the real collusion? Because as what you see through this information is not only was the dossier political fodder, it was paid for by the DNC. They're not really following where the collusion is. I was optimistic in showing, okay, once they investigate this, they'll see the real collusion with Russia, with China, was through the Democrat Party. But in fact, they're avoiding that topic, and they're trying to pin it on an innocent, the innocent Trump, is the way it looks to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what Freud called projection. He may not have been right about in his psychology, but you can really see it here. I mean, it's everything that the left, or let's put it this way, that the anti-Trump juggernaut has accused the president of, actually turns out to be things that they have done. I mean, you mentioned how amazing is it that you have this dossier composed of what? Of a hearsay and gossip coming from
Sidney Blumenthal
Russian entities close to the Kremlin, that paid for by the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee, and that is said to be the sole warrant for opening these FISA investigations, spying on Americans and spying on a rival candidate. It is extraordinary.
Roger, the thing I love, my phrase is everybody loves something about Trump and hates himself for it. The thing I love most about Trump is how much he has brought bubbling to the surface what you're calling the deep state. I mean, we never would have known about any of this stuff had Trump not get elected. And remember, Buckley wrote McCarthy and his enemies, and as bad as McCarthy was, his enemies were worse. And you see what the enemies will do, what they'll resort to, how they're hallucinating about Russian collusion, and how corrupt they are. Because now you've got McCabe, who's going to be prosecuted. It is delicious, and I don't care. You know, Kevin Williamson. I know him, and I know Jonah Goldberg, and all these people. Yeah. Come on, the Schadenfreude is fantastic.
Yes. Well, I like both of those gents. They're both very talented. We disagree about the merits of the president, but it is an extraordinary moment we're living through, and people should be taking notes and remember how this whole thing has unfolded. What began as an investigation into Russian collusion has now gone way beyond that. You don't hear about that really much anymore, because now, I mean, the idea that Robert Mueller should be raiding the offices of the president's personal attorney because of Stormy Daniels. I mean, give me a break.
There we go.
It's ridiculous.
Roger Kimball, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Roger Kimball, editor of the New Criterion and columnist for PJ Media. We'll be back with your calls at 312-642-5600.
Should learn the number. You should
really learn that 5991 Rock, 591 Roll. No. 312-642-5600. Bruce Wolf and Shaun Thompson in for Dan and Amy.